Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back to All Chiefed Up. We're back with another podcast. For that ass, we're talking about the Chris Jones contract situation, Steve. Florio's reported something. Now Nick Wright has come out and reported something, but we're here to break it all down. We're going to analyze it. We're going to tell you what's really going on. So let's jump into it, Steve.
Before we get started, just want to say thanks if you guys are watching. We know there's a lot of Chiefs content out there, and you lead busy lives, and you're taking your time out to hang out with All Chiefed Up. We appreciate you. Hit that sub button, hit the like button to help us out. Mike, let's talk about this contract stuff because Florio said one thing, Nick Wright said another thing. People are confused, but essentially they said the same thing. So why don't we just break this down and tell everybody what they're reading or listening to?
Let's break it down because they pretty much said the same thing. So Florio comes out a few days ago and he says, Chris Jones trying to match or beat Aaron Donald. No, here's the truth on where things stand while the clock is ticking loudly towards Thursday night. In his article, Steve, he says, per a source with knowledge of the situation, the Chiefs have offered to replace the $19.5 million that Jones is due this year, 2023, essentially with a $74 million over the next 3 years. Of that amount, $70 million goes for guaranteed for injury with a lower amount fully guaranteed. That works out to an average of $24.67 million. Everybody went nuts. They said, Steve, that's not good. The Chiefs are lowballing. 24.6 over the next 3 years is trash. And it is. That's too low for Chris Jones.
That is definitely a lowball.
Too low for Chris Jones. At the end of it, it says the midpoint between the team's offer of the Donald deal and the team's offer is $28.17 million. And then he said Jones, we're told, isn't trying to get Donald's number. He split the difference, and that comes out to 28.17. So the world got set on fire, Steve. They said, Florio, we can't trust him. We can't do this. Nick Wright comes out today on his show, First Things First, on Fox Sports 1. He says Chris Jones not being there at this point is very surprising on the Chiefs. On the table, they have given him a 2-year fully guaranteed extension that's $27.25 million. 2 years, $54 million. 54.5. So look, he comes out and said, no, the Chiefs did not lowball at 24.6. The Chiefs are offering 27.25. And everybody's saying, hey, wait a second, Chris Jones, 27.25 clearly makes you the number 2 paid guy. And it clearly puts you in that firm pocket of where your value is, which is 26 to 29, maybe 30, but nowhere near the 32 Aaron Donald money. So then he goes on to say, Chris Jones and his camp want 2 years, $64 million for those 2 years, $32 million a year. So everybody said, no, Chris Jones, I thought you didn't want $32 million a year. But nobody's paying attention. Steve, they're not fighting over the $32 million a year or the 27.25. It's all coming down to this season, the $19.5 million that he's owed this year. And people are saying Chris Jones is he's not living up to his contract. This is what he signed. Steve, people outplay their contracts all the time. You see rookies hold out. You see everybody. You outplay your contract. The Chiefs are saying essentially, Chris Jones, we will pay you $19.5 this year, and then we'll give you $27 for the next 2 years, and that's going to work out to average $24.6 million, which is exactly what Florio said. And then Chris Jones said, no, I'll take your $19.5 this year, but you got to give me $32.5 now for the next 2 years, and that will average it out to $27.8 million, and that is the perfect contract amount.
Yes, sir.
$28 million. So Chris Jones and his camp are essentially in the right, in my opinion.
We've been talking about this for months, and we've always said 27 to 28 million was the mark to make.
Right.
Like that's where they should meet, get it done, be over it. Let's go, let's move on, let's play football, right?
Right.
And then these reports come out, and it's hilarious to me that a lot of Chiefs Kingdoms out there just, going off about this and that, and really what they're doing is talking about the exact same report. They're talking about the exact same report. They're just not accounting for this coming season. Chris Jones is in the right here. To get a 3-year extension and make the $27.8 million, that's perfect. That's fine. That's what we should be at. But like you said, the Chiefs are trying to pay him what they owe him this year of $19.5 and then turn around and do blank and blank. I can't think what the numbers are. But they're trying to equal it out towards $24 million over 3 years. That's terrible. I'm sorry, but hey, one thing I do know now is that the Katz brothers 100% leaked this to the media. Absolutely did. There's no way that Florio and Nick Jones would both know about this other than the fact that they leaked it out. because they want everyone to know that the Chiefs are trying to screw Chris Jones at $24 million.
The way Florio did it, everybody said that's just making it look like the Chiefs are lowballing and the Chiefs are horrible. Florio, don't trust him. Don't trust Florio. Nick Wright comes out and he says, no, the Chiefs have offered 27.25. So it's like he's speaking on behalf of the Chiefs, but he's forgetting that they're now saying this year he plays for 19.5.
Right. That's the thing. Chris Jones wants his extension to start now. He wants the old contract done. He wants a 3-year extension.
People
right
don't
off
like
the
this,
old
Steve.
Contract, 3-year extension. That's what Chris Jones is wanting. Chiefs are like, no, we want to pay you only the $19 million that we're going to pay you this year, and then we'll extend you for 2 more years.
Right.
That's the mix-up here. And like you said, I think Chris Jones and camp is in the right here. I think the Chiefs have just got to bite the bullet and do this. It's fair for Chris Jones. We've talked about how Chris Jones is not a guy that you let walk off this team. Chris Jones is the one getting all the negative connotations for it, though. Am I correct? Like, everybody thinks Chris Jones is terrible because he's not in here playing for cheap.
Right, and this is the thing. The Chiefs leak it this way through Nick Wright doing the bidding of the Chiefs, which, fine, cool, I get it. But he's making it look like Chris Jones is asking for $32.5 million. That's more than Donald. He's not asking for $32.5 million average over 3 years. His average comes back to the $28 million, which is perfect. The Chiefs, the way they did it, we give you 27.25. That's more than you wanted. That's more than you're worth. That's right in the pocket. But you're forgetting the 19.5 they're taking off this year. But Steve, Chiefs Kingdom don't like it, Steve. They say he's not living up to his contract.
Look, I'm sorry, but this kind of plays right into how Brett Veach tries to do everyone's contracts.
Doesn't it?
Yes, because we all know that he likes to freaking backload their contracts and then get rid of them later. That's what he does to everybody. But people caught on to that. People wised up to that. Like, hey, I'm not going to play for next to nothing for 2 years, and then right when I'm about to get paid, you cut me. That's not happening. Chris Jones ain't going for this kind of swindling either, because that's exactly what's going on here. Chris Jones thinks he's worth $27 million now, right now. Is he? Yes. He earned it. He earned it last year. He's done with his contract.
Person on this planet that thinks Chris Jones, it's fair to pay Chris Jones $19.5 million this year.
It's not. It just isn't. And if you're one of the honor your contract people, then why don't you say this to everyone who's ever had an extension done?
Right.
Because that's you're
going to see Creed probably do it this year coming up.
Just the nature of the beast. And that's another thing, Mike. The same people that couldn't figure out that both of these reports are essentially saying the same thing, they're the same ones that were just constantly yelling 2 words at you. Salary cap. Salary cap. Salary cap. Guys, I promise you we know what the salary cap is. Okay? You don't have to tell us about a salary cap. We understand there's a salary cap. $228 million plus is what you get in this season, 2023. Right. $228 million of salary cap. If you are really just freaking out about an extra $4 million average for each year, if it equals out to that for just 2 years, then if you think Brett Veach can't move that money around and make that salary cap work without letting Chris Jones go, the heart of your defense, you're out of your freaking mind. Look, he's supposedly the best GM in football. Everybody trusts him. Trust in Veach.
Today
in Veach we trust.
Lance the Spoken throws up the clip, and I respond. And I get it. I tried to word it as simplistic and as easy as I could because why? If you write a paragraph, nobody's reading it. Right. So you can't win. I couldn't go into deep detail here because everybody would have just scrolled over it and been like, nice book, buddy. They wouldn't have read it. So I say the simplicity of this is $9 million. This is nickels and dimes to $1 billion organization. Let's make it work. Let's work it out. I didn't say the Chiefs should bite the bullet. I didn't say Chris Jones should bite the bullet. I didn't say we can sign him at the expense of all salary cap. I didn't say that because the Chiefs are worth $1 billion, we can spend as much as we want. I get it. But I didn't think everybody was going to read into that and just make up a bunch of stuff, apparently.
You know people on X, they don't have much brain power, brother.
They're right fighters.
So they don't have a whole lot of brain power. And what they do have, it's saying to themselves, you're right. You know everything.
Keep
Please
repeating
put it on here.
what you've read a bunch.
But yeah. Absolutely,
that's all I was trying to say.
Absolutely comical. But no.
It's nickels and dimes to this organization. Like you said, $4.5 million. It's not that much.
Back to the contract. Don't care about the people that are dumb. But either way, if this is what's going on, which I want to say it absolutely probably is. If it got leaked out to 2 different people,
It's
And
just two
they're
different
saying-
sources.
right.
They're saying the same thing in two different ways.
Exactly. So I'm thinking that's probably exactly what's going on here. And if that's the case, I think that the Chiefs have to move a little bit here. And I think that Chris Jones might have to move a little bit here. I think they have to meet in the middle still.
I've done some math, Steve. Do you want to hear it?
Well, sure.
It's about moving, like you said. So I don't want to lose the point, but right now the Chiefs average at $24.6 million a year is how they're doing it, and the way Chris Jones has it going, it's $27.8 million. Which of those two is closer to Chris Jones' real contract worth? 27.8, Chris Jones. To get to $27 million, the Chiefs would have to come up and pay Chris Jones, not $27.25. They'd have to get to $30 million a year. Just to get to $26 million average, they'd have to come up to $29 million a year. So right now they're only at 27.25. They've got to move. I don't think Chris Jones is going to move much.
I don't think he is either. That's what I was getting ready to say. I think that he could move a little bit, but I don't think he's going to move much because I think he's right in the ballpark he should be, and I think he knows that. I think Chris Jones knows his value. That's the thing, man. Everybody's screaming out Chris Jones is selfish and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce don't take as much money. Chris Jones shouldn't either. He's trying to ruin the team. We're done with Chris Jones. He doesn't care about the Chiefs. He only cares about himself. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, but the thing about it is Chris Jones is just trying to get what he's worth, right? Like he's trying to be paid the second highest at his position, which is exactly what he is. And, you know, he could really argue that he's up there with Donald, but he's not doing it. So I think people need to chill on Chris Jones just a little bit. Is it annoying that he's having to take this route? Yes. But is it all his fault? No. But I don't think...
Do you know what Chris Jones would have to ask for the next 2 years extension to get to Aaron Donald money? He would have to be asking the Chiefs for $38.25 million. He's nowhere near that number. So don't say he's trying to get Chris... You know, he's not trying to get Aaron Donald money.
Well, the people that don't understand what we've tried to explain to everybody today that are only looking at the next 2 years and not this season, they see the $32 million and then they say he's a liar.
Right.
Well, he lied to everybody. He just straight up lied to everybody. No, you just don't understand what the contract entails. I don't know, Mike. The way I see it is this should be getting done. It should be getting done.
Isn't it
it's
crazy?
way
We're
too
just
damn
fighting.
close.
We're fighting over this year's contract. That's it. 1 year.
It should be getting done. No matter which way you look at it. I understand we don't have that much salary cap to mess with. I get it. Once again, not Chris Jones's problem. It just isn't. So you have Patrick Mahomes who's come out before and said, hey, you know, I take less on my contract because I want to have a good team. I want to win Super Bowls.
And he
even name dropped Chris Jones because I want there to be money on the table for people like Chris Jones. Okay, so you have that. Then you had Travis Kelce, who was on his podcast, New Heights. Yeah, it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but he was still saying, hey, Chris, come on, man. Thought we were trying to win Super Bowls.
Let's win some dynasties. Let's get a dynasty.
Yeah, let's get this dynasty going. Let's win the more Super Bowls. And then, of course, the coach, Andy Reid, the coaching staff, everybody like that. Anyone else that's asked about it, even Mahomes, last time he talked to the media, they all say the same thing. They parrot the same thing over and over again. They're not worried about people that's not there. They're only worried about the people that are there.
Rightfully
so. And that's what they're focused on. And I understand that 100%. So on that note, you can take that however you will. But Mike, we've talked about this before. I don't think it's beneficial for Chris Jones to miss any time. Like
it's not.
It's going to cost him a lot of money. And I think we were talking about it earlier, Mike, and you can break this down because you've probably got the numbers in front of you and I don't. But if he loses, say, is it $14 million he will lose if he holds out until week 8, like he said he would, that he could afford to, he would lose $14 million total. If you subtract that from what they're offering him, it's going to put him right back down to the 24 million.
So the way Chris Jones is asking for it with the 19.5, 32.5, 32.5, it's coming out to be like 83, 84 million. If you pull the 14 million off, now it's coming down to 3 years, 70 million, which is actually, the Chiefs have offered him 3 years. I don't even know what it is, 24 million a year. So 75. He's actually coming down 5 million cheaper than he'd get if he just takes the Chiefs deal.
Right.
It's almost like he's just doing it off principle.
It is.
Like,
that's exactly
I'll
what
lose
it is.
the 5 million.
Mike, that's what I was getting ready to get to, man. I think Chris Jones is too prideful. Chris Jones is a very prideful guy. He wants to be the best in the league. He thinks he is the best in the league. And he's not going to let anyone get one over on him. He's a very cocky guy. I mean, you can just watch him talk and you know this. We knew this before contracts were ever being negotiated. We all know that about Chris Jones, and that's part of the reason why we love him, because he's so confident. And he's just going to stick pretty firm, Mike. I'm with you. I think the Chiefs have to move off of what they're offering a little bit. Maybe they don't have to go all the way to Chris Jones, but they've got to at least meet this guy somewhere. I don't think he's going to move much.
If he's at 32
really
and a half, and we'll just say they're at 27. Look, they've come up 0.25, apparently. He's at 32 and a half. We'll just say they're at 27 and a half, just to make this easy. They've got to come up to at least 29 to 30 million. And as I said before, 29 million now averages Chris Jones at 26 million a year. If they come up to 30, that gives them a 27 million average. That's right in the pocket. Chris Jones probably takes that. I'm sure he probably takes that. If they come up 2 million, if they come up to 30 million a year, that's still under Chris Jones. Are they going to do it? I don't know. I don't think so. I think Brett Veach is just as hard-headed and stubborn as Chris Jones is. I think that he's met his match in this one. I think the Katz brothers and Chris Jones are just arrogant enough to sit here and play with it. I think this tarnishes Brett Veach just a tad bit. I know at the end of the day, Chiefs Kingdom's always going to side with Brett Veach and they're always going to side with the Chiefs because we're always going to be Chiefs fans. But at the end of the day, you got to look at it. If you're in that situation, you're the second best, if not the best player in football right now at your position. And you're not just taking a little bit under, you're taking right now $8 million less this year than Quinnen Williams. Come on. You're not doing this. What if he hurts himself this year?
No, you're completely right. I think he has every reason to sit here and stand off. And like you said, I think that Brett Veach and the Chiefs, we know from the past, they're very stubborn. They're going to sit here and do a staring contest, and they will not be the first ones to blink, I promise you.
You know what's funny about this, by the way?
And Chris Jones.
Right. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, they owe him $19.5 million this year. We keep saying that. But after his restructured bonus from the first time, his cap hit, Steve, is actually 28.2 off the top of my head. They owe 28.2. Now, again, with him not reporting now, some of that's not going to be added on at the end of the day. But still, 28.2. Check this out.
Today, Junior.
Defensive tackle rating in 2023, Chris Jones has a $2.3 million higher cap hit than Aaron Donald in that monstrous contract. Like, are the Chiefs fine with paying him $3 million more, basically, on a cap hit? Like, it does all the favors in the world to get Chris Jones restructured and to get this bad number off the books this year. What are they doing?
I don't know. One other thing I want to talk about is the crowd that thinks that if they extend Chris Jones and give him the money that he's worth, that you won't be able to re-sign Creed Humphrey or Trey Smith or whoever else is on their contract year coming up next season. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to that. A lot. And there's another point that I would like to make to these people. And I saw this from a guy on X that left a comment, and I agree with it 100%. Chris Jones' money is not the only one that counts towards the salary cap. And Chris Jones is not a cap casualty type guy. This is a guy that your defense revolves around. This is a guy that's helped you win 2 Super Bowls over the last 4 years. Go to 3. Like, this is a guy that performs. He leads the defense. He's monstrous. They have to freaking game plan for him. So why are you so worried about his money counting to the salary cap that it could affect Trey Smith? It could affect Creed Humphrey. But they're not calling out things like, hey, MVS is in here with $11 million cap hit. Is he worth that?
Yeah. We kind of mentioned that before. We asked if MVS was a little overpaid. Everybody said, you're all trying to stir the pot.
No, I love MVS, and I think he's going to have a good year. But has he earned that? No. I don't think. I think he's a little bit overpaid as of right now. But either way, there's the same people that want to argue about the salary cap, Mike, are the same people that think we're going to re-sign or, extend or re-sign L'Jarius Sneed. It's not freaking happening. Like, we're not going to pay a corner a big bunch of money if we're sitting here arguing about a couple $1 million with Chris Jones. It's just not going to happen.
Well, look, you just argued MVS, the $11 million. He signed, 3 years, $33 million, something like that. That's an astronomical number for MVS. It really is. Look at our room, how deep that is. We took 7 for the first time ever this year because we're that deep.
Right.
But yet we don't have anybody on the defensive side at defensive tackle. And Chris Jones, at his level compared to MVS and what he does, not even in the same ballpark, people. And so if you want to shave some money off the cap,
it's not
why not
Chris
deal
Jones.
MVS or something?
Like I said, I loved that comment that guy left on there. If I could remember his name right now, I'd shout him out. But that pretty much exactly sums it up. Chris Jones is not the guy that you want to mess with when it comes to shaving money off the salary cap.
He's
He's too big of a piece. Like, he's too big of a freaking piece. Give him what he has earned.
Right.
And move on from some of these other guys if you have to.
Yeah, why are we skimping and playing hardball with somebody like Chris Jones?
Right. We're talking about a top 10 player in the entire NFL, voted by his peers.
The best at his position.
Right.
He surpassed Donald.
Think about that. We're talking about this with a guy that is, they're saying is top 10 in the NFL. NFL players say that he is one of the 10 best players in the entire NFL. And we're sitting here messing with his money, but we're not worried about, we're worried about re-signing L'Jarius Sneed.
You're just trying to get him to 27, 28 million per year. That's not even that bad. He's
man.
not asking for 50
I'm telling
million
you, dude,
a year,
like,
32 or whatever.
Trust me, I'm not somebody that just like, I don't normally side with just players. I don't just side with the team. I try to look at it objectively, right? And I love the Chiefs. I'm a Chiefs fan. It doesn't matter if Chris Jones is playing for them or not. I'm still going to be a Chiefs fan. I get it. But as a Chiefs fan, I can say, hey, I don't like this. I don't like this move that the Chiefs are making. I think they're kind of being dumb here. And from what it sounds like, Mike, when you look at both of those reports, the only thing that's different is the fact that the Chiefs do not want to pay him what he's worth this season. They want to try to get essentially a free season out of Chris Jones before they pay him. And he's not dumb enough to do it.
That could be dangerous, too. If you don't have that contract worked out just right, they could up and trade him. They could do whatever they wanted next year.
Yeah. And would you put it past them? I mean, that's another thing,
no.
Mike. Like, I don't put anything past the Chiefs organization. Not because I think Tyreek Hill wasn't necessary. I think, like, that's another thing. People say they like to bring up the Tyreek Hill thing. Well, they traded him. Yeah, but I promise you, Chris Jones is way more important to this team than Tyreek Hill ever was. I promise you that. I think they think that as well. It's not the same situation. But it does show you that at a certain point, the Chiefs just won't budge. They will not do it. And I think we're right around that right now. So that could very well be what's holding this up. And it could be what causes Chris Jones to not be there for a few games at the beginning of the season. The Chiefs have got to move a little bit on this and get this done.
Right.
I just think it's stupid not to.
Well, yeah, look, you brought up Creed and Trey Smith and even Nick Bolton. Same draft class.
Right.
They're all coming up in 2025, so it's not next year. We got 2 years on these guys.
Right.
So you're going to play 2023, 2024, and then 2025 you'll have to restructure or you have to re-sign the extensions or whatever. But I'm telling you right now, Creed Humphrey is one of the lowest paid centers in the entire league. Nick Bolton is like the number 60th paid linebacker in the whole league or something like that. They may hold out next year just like Chris Jones is doing this year and not honor the final year of their rookie deal because they've outplayed it. Are we going to come at them with the same amount of hate? Because here's my thing. Creed, he's going to start his contract extension, by the way. I went and looked at some numbers. It's probably going to start somewhere around 5 years, $60 million with a $15 million signing bonus. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Devin White, they just tagged him for his 5th year in Tampa Bay. He wanted out, and they were like, look, we're going to give you $11 million this year to stay in your 5th year. And then they're going to redo a contract this summer. You better watch that one because that's going to be really close to what Nick Bolton's going to get. Now, I don't think Nick Bolton is to Devin White's level, but he ain't too far below it. And they're both inside linebackers. By the way, I think Nick Bolton's going to start somewhere around 4 years, $29 million. So just in those two players, you're looking at a good $80, $90 million. And then Trey Smith, I'm sorry, he's the cheapest. I estimated that somewhere around 3 years, $20 million as a starting point. It could be a little lower, a little higher. But somebody is not getting we cannot continue. That's the bad thing about drafting. You draft a good team, eventually they're all going to have to get paid.
Right.
You can't pay every one of them. You're going to have to pick and choose. And this isn't Chris Jones's fault, is all I'm trying to say.
Absolutely
Cheaping
not.
on Chris Jones don't affect nobody else.
No, and they try to play the age thing. I'm sorry, he just turned 29. He's still got at least 3-4 top, prime level years left.
Even if he declines at 31, 32, that's all we're giving him for right now.
Right.
That's all he's wanting.
Completely worth paying him right now. You have, at the situation that the Chiefs are in, Mike, where you're in Patrick Mahomes' prime, you're in the middle of a dynasty, he's the pillar of your defense. He's the anchor. He's what makes it click. Without Chris Jones, we've talked about this a million times, Mike. Without Chris Jones, you don't have that pressure up the middle. Guess what? The linebackers don't play at as high of a level as they are. the defensive backs can't play at as high of a level as they've been playing at in their young careers, because they're going to have quarterbacks sitting back there, eating a snack and looking around for 2 hours before they throw the ball. So, I mean, this is a guy that I feel like is critical to keeping here. So you have to factor that in. And we've talked about this before too, Mike. I think the guys that end up being the casualty to all this cap situation is more than likely, whether you like it or not, L'Jarius Sneed and probably Trey Smith. More than likely.
I mean, yeah. Well, the only reason it might not be Trey Smith. If he was to sign somewhere around that 18 to 22 million sweet spot for 3 to 4 years, that's just a good deal at that point. But you may have to, I don't want to say it, but Creed or Bolton one may go. It just depends. I don't know. I'm not going to say that because Brett Veach might work some magic, but this is a lot of money coming up.
Well, here's my whole thing about it, Mike. I understand there's a lot of money going on there. A lot of things they have to get figured out. Why? Like, I'm with you. I think Chris Jones is a scapegoat right now just because he's the guy that's standing up for himself and saying, hey, you got to pay me what I'm worth. I'm sorry.
Right.
Love you guys, want to be a Chief, but you guys got to pay me what I'm worth. He's actually standing up to him a little bit. I think that's why everybody's focused on him at the moment. Will they be that way when other players come up? That's my question. Like, because it's like you're going down a very long rabbit hole, Mike.
It's a rabbit hole.
Like, you got Tyreek Hill. We had to go ahead and trade Tyreek Hill because we had to be able to pay Chris Jones. And then it's, well, we can't pay Chris Jones. We have to be able to pay Creed Humphrey. Like, and then when Creed comes around, we can't pay Creed Humphrey. We got to be able to pay whoever. Like, it's going to keep going. Like, at some point, you have to draw the line in the sand and be like, this guy's too critical to the freaking team. He's too good. We have to pay him what he's asking for, or at least close to it, what he's worth.
Right.
And play football.
I get it. It's a butterfly effect to a certain degree, but you can't always use the guy currently as the scapegoat. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, we can't pay Orlando Brown Jr. I get it for whatever reason, but we can't do that because we got to sign this guy.
Right.
Well, you went out and you paid $80 million.
Yes, please go ahead with that, because I was getting ready to say the one thing that Brett Veach is really kind of put a wrench in the gears with is everybody wants to talk about all this money.
More money this
Everybody
year.
wants to talk about all this money. We don't have money for this and this and this, but he went out and paid a right tackle $80 million freaking dollars, Mike.
That can't run block.
$60 million guaranteed.
I'm pretty sure he's making more money than Chris Jones this year. That's just the thing. You can't
I think his cap hit's pretty cheap for the first 2 years.
Right.
Because Jawan Taylor signed one of those funky Brett Veach deals, which he's probably going to get screwed. Just end of story.
Probably. Yeah, it's just one of those things, man. It's like, I'm not taking sides either way. I think Chris Jones and their people's not handled it properly, but I also think the Chiefs are doing the classic Chiefs low ball, and they're trying to swindle. Right. And look how bad our franchise would be sitting right now if we just didn't have the beauty that is Patrick Mahomes that just wanted their team-friendly deal. And we don't have Travis Kelce not trying to go out and get a top wide receiver. Not forget tight end. The dude plays wide receiver. What if he goes out and tries to get his money? Other teams have to deal with this kind of stuff. The Chiefs have got lucky not to do that, and that's why the dynasty has kind of fell into place here.
Right.
But you're lucky to have it. So you can't ask every single person
you can't
to continue to do
every player to take less money to build a super team.
And I get it. Chiefs Kingdom will turn on them instantly and be like, well, we don't need them, trade
Mike,
them.
if that really worked, where it's like, hey, let's get all the best players in the league and see if they'll take less money in their contract so we can meet the salary cap and we can win Super Bowls. Don't you think people would be doing that everywhere? Like, we're in a very different, unique situation. Like you said, we're very fortunate to have Patrick Mahomes. Think about this. Patrick Mahomes plays at a highly discounted rate. And I think his cap hit is still somewhere around $39 million.
It's one of the highest in the leagues.
Think about that for a second. So we're so worried about Chris Jones making $27.5 million per year. And Patrick Mahomes alone takes $30 million from the cap on a discount. Think about that. And Kelsey's at like 14.5.
Right.
He could be way worse. Like, I just think at some point, I think it really just falls back down to this, Mike. Patrick Mahomes said it best himself. And that's where I would like to end this conversation on Chris Jones. Patrick Mahomes said, I don't take as much money because I want a good team around me. I want to win. I want to win Super Bowls. It's about my legacy, not about money. I'm leaving money on the table for guys like Chris Jones.
Right. And I'll end it. as in everybody's saying that we got to have money to pay other people. You have a $28 million cap hit this year, and you wise guys want to tag them up next year for somewhere around $30 million, all going against the cap. That's almost $60 million towards the cap. The way they're talking about this deal, they're doing a lot of it guaranteed money. That cap hit's going to go down, and you're going to free up more cap to sign more people. I don't think people understand that, but that's the where it goes.
Mike, salary cap.
Salary cap.
Did you know there's a salary cap in the NFL? It's not the Major League Baseball. It's not baseball. It's NFL.
Learn the salary cap.
Hey, Google salary cap.
That time's yours.
Time's yours. Time's yours.
Time is yours.
It's back. Everybody's like, where's Time's yours, Steve? Time's yours is back. It's just been busy. Let's get it kicked right back in here. Angry Drunken German says, I trust Florio about as much as I trust an honest telling of events from a 6-year-old.
Fair.
That said, if there's any truth to this whole situation falls in Veach's lap, I think Veach has an argument as the best GM in the biz, but he might have shat and fell in this one. If all this is due to Veach offering $25 million or less, then that's on him. So, Steve, look, he says what everybody says. Right. 24.67 is what they're offering over the next 3 years. Now, see, Veach and company we've talked about it. They're guiding it as, well, we're giving you 27.25 for the next 2 years.
Semantics, Brett Veach. You can't fool everybody with
So
with your way of words, okay?
Right.
You can't trick everybody into this stuff. I'm with Angry Drunken German on this one. Because now that we know how this has been laid out, because the Katz brothers obviously leaked this out.
Oh, yeah.
We know that over the next 3 years that the Chiefs are essentially trying to pay Chris Jones $24 million a year. Guess what that means? What Angry Drunken German said.
Brett Veach took a big,
Less than 25.
huge, steaming shit, and he fell in it.
Chat. I think he said chat, actually.
He did. Travis says, is it just me or is the D looking like it's being built to go back to a 3-4? I don't hear anyone talking about this, though. Steve, we did. We took 6 linebackers, which was kind of crazy. We've been seeing some of the craziest stuff out of Spags in the offseason. We think that they're trying to compensate for Chris Jones being out of the lineup for a few weeks.
Right.
Go figure. And they may get cute with it. Is that what you think they're doing? Do you think they're going back to more 3-4 looks?
I think that's a possibility. I do think they're going to have a lot of different packages. That's what Spags does anyway, right? He tries to keep teams on their toes. He don't want to be predictable. So, yeah, I think Spags would definitely throw in some more 3-4 looks. We've seen the 3-3-5 stack in the preseason. We've seen all kinds of different stuff that he's trying to throw out there. I don't think we're going to go back to a base 3-4 defense. No, I do not.
No,
But
I think there'll be flashes of
I think that you'll see a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because like I said, that's what Spags does. He keeps you basically on your heels. That way he can just ram it right in your face when he wants to.
Right. And a lot of people are reading into the 5-6 linebackers. We talked about this a little bit the other day off camera. We were talking, and I was thinking, Cam Jones, they might have just thought he couldn't clear waivers, and he's got a bright future here. They may be trying to get rid of Willie Gay. That's a contract coming up pretty soon.
Very big possibility.
So it's very
salary
possible.
Cap, Mike, salary cap.
Right. So maybe Cam Jones, they just want him on the roster, and I think the other cat earned it, the other linebacker. So Cochran looked good, and he earned it, and I think that's why they took 6, and Andy's took 6 a few times before, so maybe they're not going to crazy
Well, Mike,
new
we
weeks.
talked about this before they come out with the 53-man roster. Yeah, we weren't exactly right on everything about it, but we did talk about how we would trust what Andy Reid decided to go with because he would put what he thought was the best 53 men on the team.
Right.
And I know that Brett Veach gets a big say in it as well. And I think that's exactly what they did. I think it's why Cam Jones made the roster. I think they really missed the mark. They really missed the mark with Matt Dickerson. That one's the only thing that makes me question it because he was not one of the best 53 people. And
right,
they put him there and then cut him.
At the end of the day, they were going to cut him anyway.
Exactly. So why would you not save that spot for a guy that you could use and not go to the Browns? That's all I'm saying.
You really love Khalif. Okay, here we go. The Real Cato says, if you have a staple of your team that wants to retire with you, Chris Jones, and is ranked number 1 in the league, and your top 2 stars, Kelsey and Mahomes, take a pay cut just for that person and other players you need to get it done. No questions asked. The Real Cato's on board. I think he gets it.
Cato's on point here, man. It just is what it is. It's what I've been saying all along, Mike. Patrick Mahomes' name dropped him. Him and Kelsey take less money to pay players like Chris Jones, which means if I'm Brett Veach, I'm like, hey, I have the best duo in football. I have the best quarterback, the best tight end. Not just in football, nay. The best ever of all time at both positions. And they just basically told me, hey, I took less money to play here because we want people like Chris Jones on the team. So me as Brett Veach, I'm like, damn, I need to sign Chris Jones. I need to give him what he wants to make sure he's on here. That way everybody's happy, right?
Right.
Everybody gets what they wanted. But no. We're going to play with fire.
The Chiefs Kingdom echo chamber seems to think that all the players have now turned on Chris Jones. I don't see that. It's not happened.
No.
We'll move on. CD33832 says, I don't know what his agenda is, referring to what Andy Reid said when asked about Chris Jones. I've never heard Andy say that about a player. He's definitely fed up with him. Yeah, we put that out as a short the other day. Andy had talked about it in his presser. He keeps getting asked about Chris Jones, and I think Andy's just kind of frustrated, like, hey, I got a team to run. I can't worry about Chris Jones. That's Brett Veach's job. He could be just as irritated and frustrated with Brett Veach as he is Chris Jones, to be honest.
Very good point, Mike. I think with Andy's an old school cat. Like, he just likes to coach his team and go play football. That's what Andy Reid has on his mind.
They hired Brett Veach to get this done.
I think Andy is completely objective when he looks at it. I don't think he has any ill feelings towards Chris Jones. I don't think he's fed up with Chris Jones. I think he's fed up with the situation and the fact that he gets asked about it every day of his life. That's what Andy's fed up with. So, yeah, I would not take that as Andy's fed up with Chris Jones. I think he's just tired of talking about the situation, much like the rest of us.
True. We got Pono Kaiwai. I don't know if I can pronounce it. Let's just say Pono. It's simple. Brett needs to save money to take care of the offensive line guys. Steve, we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, we touched on it.
It's a
non-factor.
The butterfly effect that everybody parrots. And I get it. It does have a small effect, but I don't think it's as much as everybody thinks. Because my point is, if you needed this to save for this, and then you couldn't sign, we had to get rid of Frank Clark to save for this, and we had to do this. Eventually, Brett Veach is just stacking piles of money because he ain't paying it to nobody.
A lot of people look at these things in black and white when you can't. There's so many gray areas, it's unreal, right? But just for those people that sometimes need pictures drawn with crayons to tell them what's going on, Mike, if that was the case, what would you do? Like, I'm just going to ask you this. If you just drop Chris Jones altogether and mutilate your defense, but you can sign every other guy on the team, Creed, Nick Bolton, Trey Smith, whoever, Willie Gay, you can sign them all. Is it worth it?
I don't think I skimp with the big defensive tackle that can get after the quarterback and affect an entire defense.
Yes, that's my point.
I think I find other places to skimp.
That's my point. I think that's exactly what they need to be looking
at, right? It's not
like,
look, I love Trey Smith, but it's not like if we don't re-sign Trey Smith, we're just done.
Guards are very easily replaceable. I don't know how to say this.
Even Nick Bolton. I love Nick Bolton. But if you had to move on from Nick Bolton, I still think I think Cam Jones, he may not be Nick Bolton, but between him and Tranquil, maybe you get him back at a decent deal, and you can find it.
Now that I sat and thought about English, the English language, is that what I'm trying to say? Okay, so either way, the guard position is more replaceable. It's more easily replaceable than a defensive tackle. I'm sorry, you're not going to get another Chris Jones. You're never going to get another Chris Jones. You're just not. Trey Smith, on the other hand, technically you're not going to get another Trey Smith, but you can get somebody that's pretty dang close to him.
Hey, this is going to sound weird. I love Creed too, but everybody acts like Creed's irreplaceable.
We can't talk right now. It's great.
I know, it's pretty hilarious. You can just tell we're tired. But by the way, we draft at the end of the first round every year, and we got Creed in the middle of the second round. There's always
that's the thing,
good
man.
centers that are top 20 NFL prospects that never get picked in the first round, which means we could always take a flyer on one at the end and get them for another cheap 5-year deal.
Like, that's what's crazy to me too, Mike. I've thought about that myself. I love Creed Humphrey as much as the next person. But why are we overvaluing the center position to that extent?
Right, because a lot of times Creed is not even like he's really not over a nose tackle playing a zero ever. He's usually double teaming, something like that. You know what I'm trying to say?
He's really good. He's the best in the league.
Great.
I'll go ahead and say that I would rather have him than Kelsey because of the age difference. So, yeah, I think he's the best one in there right now.
Right. I just don't know if center is valued as much as Chiefs Kingdom's making it out to be because of Creed
The
Humphrey.
Chiefs have not shown that they value center in the past. If you look, who was it? Mitch Morris.
We
they
had
let
Rodney
walk.
Hudson, Mitch Morris, you name it.
They let him go because they don't want to pay him.
Right. So, Aaron Powell, love the content. I only listen to ACU, HBTC, and Scrambling Armchair. Weir's time's yours. Time's
Watching
yours
it, baby.
Time's now, and Aaron Powell, time is yours. Thanks for the comment. HD Chiefs fan, I will be at the opener. Ooh, against Detroit, like it. And I'm super psyched to see that banner hung and get the first W of many for the season. HD Chiefs fan, we're excited to get it going, Steve. Thursday night can't get here fast enough. Our next few podcasts are going to really dive into the Lions because I really think Chris Jones is a non-factor at this point. He's either going to sign or he's not. I'm tired of talking about it. And we've already discovered everybody's saying the same thing. They're just saying it differently. We should do that on today's video, Steve. Let's just say the same thing, say it totally different, see what happens.
Let's just fight about it. We'll fight about the exact same thing.
100%. Philip, $27 million contract for Jones is reasonable. With Chris Jones's 32.5 he's asking over the next 2 years, that puts him right at 27.8. So you are spot on, Philip. I know he is good as Aaron Donald, but let's be real. If Mahomes doesn't make a killing, neither should anyone else. It is the reason they win Super Bowls and take less. He should take the lower contract because he will win Super Bowls. Steve, that's very common.
Think about
Philip
that.
Speaks for a lot of people. But he said that 27 is a good number, and that's all Chris Jones is asking for. 3 years, 27.8.
For the Phillips out there, my question is, why does Patrick Mahomes take less money? Because he wants a good team around him, correct?
Right.
He said that straight up. If everyone said, I'm going to take less money because I want to have a better team around me, but they don't pay the next guy because he needs to take a discount too, you're never going to get good players.
No, you're just going to keep getting mediocre right tackles.
You might get some good players.
For $80 million.
Well, that's the thing. You might get these, unique players every once in a while, like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, who's really, really freaking good, and take less. But most of the time, the guys that are really good, they can't. They just won't. You know what I'm saying? They just will not.
Such a short window of football. It's
Right.
called not for long league. Let me tell you. So when you're there and you're healthy, you got to milk it.
These guys could get hit in game one and never play another snap of football. Do you think about
Right.
that? It's that dangerous of a game.
And we're sitting on the outside being like, well, he should have took way less because, I like the
because the Chiefs.
organization.
He loves the Chiefs.
The organization, by the way, does not care.
Here's
about the
another
players.
thing. Here's another thing.
Go ahead.
I agree. Any business, any big corporation, they don't care about the
No,
little
quit
guy.
your
They
job
don't.
tomorrow and see how long it takes them to
Yeah,
replace
they don't care. No one cares.
12 seconds.
Exactly. You're a number to them, right?
Right.
I mean, it just is. My thing about it is these guys, they come into the league, they come into the NFL to play professional football because they're the best in the world at what they do, right? They're one of the best in the world. That's why they're able to play in this league, and they're able to make a living at it. And they're trying to make a lifelong living in a short window, like you said. None of these guys grew up in, not none. I should not say none because there are a few on our team. But not all these guys grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. Or Kansas City, Kansas. Or
Right.
even close. A lot of them don't care about the Chiefs. Most of them were cheering for the Dallas Cowboys. Or the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The 49ers.
Or whoever, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like they are as us as fans. We are fanatics of this team. That's what we've been doing as long as we can remember, Mike. Like we love the Chiefs.
Right.
That's not the same for these players. We're not in the same boat.
Dude, they don't even look at the rivalries the same as we do.
Right.
They don't care. Like they're there to make it's a job for them. They're there to make a paycheck.
Now,
and
granted,
that's what
they
they're
do
wanting
want to win. They want to be successful at their job the same way people that have a good job try to be good at it so they can maintain it. So, yeah, that's what they do. But, I mean, when it really boils down to it, fans like you and me, we care probably a lot more about it
Or
than some of these guys that are playing.
you try to be good at your job and you are good at your job. And then you go and you say, can I have a raise? And they say, nay, nay,
Nay, nay.
nay, nay. Take it out somewhere else. KWL says, great show. Love your humor and appreciate how you present the info on the Chiefs. Hope everyone has a great day. Yeah. Hope you guys had a great Labor Day. A good weekend. Yeah, that's about that. KCK, last one. I've been watching you guys from South Korea.
Nice.
You two are some of the best analysts out there. Keep up the great work. KCK from South Korea. Steve, did you think anybody was loving the Chiefs? It has to be a military guy, right? Maybe
Possibly.
stationed in South Korea.
I don't know. There was some other like off the wall country someone was watching from recently, and I can't remember. They left a comment too. I wish I could remember it right now.
I know Israel lots.
I've seen Israel. There was another one that was something like Iceland or something crazy, like just off the wall. And it's amazing what the platform of YouTube is able to do for us. Like there's people in Israel watching
Spotify everywhere, man.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool. And you know what's even cooler is as we're talking about this right now, Mike, as this is being broadcast to everyone out there, we are 2 days away from the Chiefs playing a regular season freaking football game, brother. It is time for this season to start. We're at the cusp of it. I'm sure everybody's super horned up right now about it. I mean, we are, Mike. We are completely rocked up right now, ready to roll.
Steve,
baby.
I smell the horny through the camera right now. I can smell it
Man,
emanating from your side.
It's so close, dude. So freaking close. Super excited about it. I know there's a lot of drama with the Chris Jones stuff. I get it. I understand it. But it doesn't matter. You have to play with a team that's there, available to play, and be ready to go. So this team needs to be ready to go. If you're the next man up, if you're Kirk Wharton, if you're Keandre Coburn.
Right. If you're on the side of the
Get it.
Chiefs here and you don't think we need Chris Jones, okay, cool. Let's move on. Let's go see what happens without Chris Jones. If you think Chris Jones is in the right, I personally think he's in the right a little bit. From what we've heard, I think he's in the right pretty close here. I think the Chiefs are low ball.
Right, and see, they could come out and not miss a beat, and then maybe you'd be like, well, maybe Brett Veach is right trying to low ball him. But it's just playing with fire.
This adds to the drama, and it don't take away from the season getting started. And that's what we're excited about, Steve. And we're going to be back. We're going to be back here tomorrow. We're going to be back on Wednesday and Thursday with another video talking about the game, breaking the game down, giving some opinions, some predictions, updating everybody, by the way. Everybody's practicing. L'Jarius Sneed's out there. They said he looked good in practice, Steve. Kadarius Toney's looking swift. He's back out there. They're saying they're going to play on Thursday. I think there'll be a snap count on them, but they said they're going to play. We're going to dive in more to that. And anything else that pops up, man, we're going to hit it full force, and we're going to come at it and bring it to you. So if you're anywhere else but YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click that bell. And we appreciate you guys for being with us. Go Chiefs.
There goes a sight from my soul.